Hello, welcome back to Guitar 101. I'm your instructor, Jesse Elaine, and today we'll be talking about fret hand basics. Now, depending on whether you play as a left-handed player or a right-handed player, you may use either the left hand as a righty or the right hand as a lefty for your fretting hand. And our fretting hand is very important because this is the hand that allows us to select notes on the fingerboard to play. From our exercise in the last lesson, we learned that it's very important to be as close to the fret as possible. We want to be as close as possible to the fret on the higher side of whatever fret we're on. For example, if I were to use my first finger on my fret hand to play the first fret on the first string, I would want to be as close as possible to this fret bar. This way I'll get a clean and clear sound every time. If I were too far on this side of the fret, it would be very difficult to get the clean, clear sound that we want to achieve. Last time we only used the first finger as a practice exercise. This time, however, I want you to start getting used to using all the fingers on the left hand, or the fretting hand. In order, we call these finger 1, which is your index finger, finger 2, which is your middle finger, finger 3, the ring finger, and finally, finger 4, the pinky. We refer to these as 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order. The first exercise I'm going to show you is called the 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise. This is because we use fingers 1, 2, 3, and 4 to play. Beginning on the first fret of the first string with our first finger, we would begin by playing one downstroke pick. Then to continue, we would use our second finger on the second fret, still on the first string, and you don't have to worry about holding down the first fret after you play it. You may pick up that finger. Second finger on the second fret. Now we'll move on and play the third finger with the third fret on the first string. Very good. And finally, we'll use our fourth finger or pinky on the fourth fret of the first string. So when we put it all together, it would sound something like this. The next thing we need to do is transfer this same 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern onto all 6 strings. Let's do this together. Moving down from the first string, we'll use the second string. First finger, first fret. Next, we'll use the second finger on the second fret of the second string. Next, third finger, third fret, second string. And finally, fourth finger, fourth fret, second string. As you may have guessed, we'll now cross over to the third string and repeat the exact same pattern. First finger, first fret. Second finger, second fret. Third finger, third fret. Fourth finger, fourth fret. Next, on the fourth string, first finger, first fret. Second finger, second fret. Third finger, third fret. and fourth finger, fourth fret. On to the fifth string, first finger, first fret, second finger, second fret, third finger, third fret, fourth finger, fourth fret, and finally the sixth string, first finger, first fret, second finger, second fret, third finger, third fret, and fourth finger, fourth fret. Now, what I'd like to do is have you play the entire exercise in just the same order that we played it right now. I'll count us off to 4, and then we'll start. Our tempo will be this tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want you to make very strong notice of your fingers' placement next to the fret. Try not to be too far away from the fret bar itself. And remember, you don't have to hold down all of the fingers. This technique will come later. For now, focus on using a downstroke pick on each string and using the finger as close as possible to the fret while keeping the tone clean and clear and making sure that you maintain accurate tempo. So here goes. Starting on the first string, working our way all the way down to the sixth in a 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Let's try that same exercise again, but this time we'll rearrange the notes so that we start on the low sixth string and work our way up to the high first string. Everything will be the same. Our picking hand will still continue to use only downstrokes, and our fretting hand will make sure that we are close as possible to the fret bar. We'll use the same tempo. Here goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. So these two exercises make up a great deal of technical practice. Now you might be wondering, why do we have to practice technical things in order to play music? It's a great question, and I'd be happy to answer it. The short answer is that you wouldn't be able to play music if you had no technical ability. The truth of the matter is, regardless of what instrument you play, including the voice, you will need to have a proficiency in the particular instrument in order to play the music you want to play. Of course, certain types of music may require more practice and more skill than others, but all music requires technical ability to be played on an instrument. The guitar, for instance, is not a particularly easy instrument to start off playing. But you have chosen the guitar, and I would be happy to show you how to play the right way by showing you the different shortcuts I've learned over the years of playing. One of the best things you can do for playing on any instrument, technique-wise, is playing scales. A scale is a collection of single notes which range usually in the form of an octave. We won't play a scale yet today, but the exercise that we are playing is a great preparatory exercise for future scale playing. Scales are very important because they allow you to work on both fret hand and picking hand coordination. This 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise can be played in any position on the guitar, in any note order on the guitar, and at any tempo. I'll explain to you now position playing on the guitar. So what is a position? A position is simply a block of 4 frets in any given place on the fingerboard of the guitar. The name position has its roots in violin and string instrument playing, but we apply it to the guitar in much the same way, using numbers. What we are playing with the 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise is a good example of playing in the first position. Playing in the first position means that your first finger is in charge of playing notes on the first fret on all strings. And then your second finger would be in charge of all notes on the second fret. Third finger takes care of the third fret. And finally, fourth finger deals with the fourth fret. The reason we call this the first position is due to the fact that our first finger, which is the first note on any given string, is on the first fret. So here's another example. If I were to move my first finger up to the second fret, I would now be in the second position. The second position is not simply the second fret, but it is each finger on each consecutive fret after the second. So if we were on the 6th string, we would have the first finger playing the second fret, second finger playing the third fret, third finger playing the fourth fret, and fourth finger playing the 5th fret. All the notes in the second position would be found from frets 2 to frets 5. This same concept applies anywhere on the guitar neck. And just to show you an example, let's go all the way up to the 12th position. It's easy to find the 12th fret on any guitar because there are 2 dots on the fingerboard. If your guitar does not have position markers on the fingerboard, it may have dot position markers on the side edge of the fingerboard as well. If we were to play with our first finger on the 12th fret, this would be the 12th position. We would have first finger on the 12th fret, second finger on the 13th, third finger on the 14th, and fourth finger on the 15th. Position playing works anywhere on the guitar, and if you end up starting on a finger other than the first finger, all that you have to do is simply calculate back to where the first finger would be. So, for example, if I were playing with the third finger on the 5th fret, I could go backwards and figure out that my second finger would be on the 4th fret and my first finger would be on the 3rd fret. So therefore, we would be in the 3rd position. Very good. Next, let's talk a little bit about playing with a metronome. A metronome is a time-keeping device that takes many forms and shapes, but has one goal: to provide you, the musician, with an accurate time reference sound. Why would we use a sound? Well, because in music, we are creating sounds, and it's good to have a solid, accurate time reference for us to play along to and be able to track our own accuracy with. You may have seen a metronome sitting on top of a piano in a movie or even at your own home if you take piano lessons. Some metronomes are what are called analog or wind-up metronomes, and then others, which I prefer, are digital or electronic metronomes. The advantage of the digital or electronic metronome is that it will not lose time. it will simply stop working when the batteries are dead. A wind-up metronome will slowly and gradually start getting slower, and it may be difficult for beginner musicians to realize when this needs rewinding. So in that case, I would always recommend the digital or electronic metronome for all students. Before we learn about the metronome, we need to understand that there are different values of notes. When I say values, I don't mean dollars and cents. I simply mean how long in time you hold each note. For example, if I were to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and I were to play a note on each one of those counts, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, those would be called quarter notes. Why quarter notes? Well, in music, we break up music into measures. And in this case, we would have 4 beats to a measure. If we were playing these 4 beats and dividing the measure into 4 pieces, we could call these quarters, in a similar way that you have 4 quarters to a dollar. If we were to play 2 notes per measure, we would have what are called half notes, because we are breaking up the measure into 2 pieces, the first half and the second half. They would sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is called a half note. And finally, today, we'll be talking about the whole note. The whole note is one long note that extends for all beats of the measure in music. It would sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see these different types of notes will be important in practicing any of our exercises from here on out. There are other types of notes, typically notes that are faster, but we won't talk about those just yet. Right now, we'll look at the metronome and how it works. Here you see a digital metronome. As I press the button, it starts to count in time. You'll notice there is a number 4 on the screen, as well as a number 80. The number 4 indicates how many beats per measure. You can hear the accented beat: 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 80 in the other corner indicates how many of these beats occur over the course of 1 minute. We call these beats per minute. I have my metronome set to 80 beats per minute, and I recommend that you do the same with your metronome. What I'll show you now is playing the same exercise we did at the beginning of our lesson, but calibrated to the perfect time of a metronome. The idea of playing with a metronome is so that you can eventually play without the metronome but have very accurate, precise timing. Although people are never usually perfect, the metronome will get us pretty darn close. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, next I'll show you the exercise played from the reverse order, where we would start on the 6th string and work our way up to the 1st string. Here goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is played both from the high string and from the low string on the guitar. Now, if 80 beats per minute is too fast, feel free to set your metronome down by 20 beats per minute. That would be 60 beats per minute in this case. What we were just playing in this past exercise would be quarter notes. That's because for each click or beat on the metronome, we would play one note, and we would hold that note until the next beat takes place. This is where the feel of tempo comes in. After hearing that click repeating at the same time interval again and again, you should eventually be very familiar with when it's going to occur next. So you'll be able to time out your picking to that beat. I can still feel that 80 beats per minute even after it's shut off. And the more you use a metronome, the more you'll become like that too. That will allow you to play with other musicians or even play on your own in much accurate tempo. Next, I'd like to show you an example of playing half notes with the metronome. I'll show you using the same 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise, but to save time, I'll only show you on the two top strings, E and B. Here's 80 beats per minute. And remember, since we're playing half notes, each note gets 2 counts on the metronome. And there are only 2 per measure. 2, 3, 4. Very good. Next, let's look at whole notes. I'll just use the first string for this to save time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half notes. Quarter notes. And just as an example, eighth notes. So there you have it. The metronome is a very, very important device that everyone practicing music should have. It's a great investment that, minus the initial cost, will give you years and years of practice and technique increasing and building up. Let's look at an exercise where we cross the strings as an added supplement to what you've already done. This particular exercise will be somewhat difficult at first, but is well worth the effort. So what we're going to do is we're going to play alternate picking on all 6 strings by using 4 alternate strokes on the first string, then 4 alternate strokes on the second, third, fourth, fifth, and 6th strings. We'll use the same notes that we've been using for our exercise, and we'll start with the first string, first fret. Once we get all the way down to the 6th string, we'll go up to the second string. We'll go up to the 2nd fret of the 6th string. And then once we get to the top first string, 2nd fret, we'll begin to use the 3rd fret on the first string, going all the way down to the 6th string, 3rd fret. And finally, we'll move up with our 4th finger on the 4th fret of the 6th string and cross all the way back to the 1st string, putting all other strings in between. So let's start our metronome. Remember, we're going to use quarter notes here, but we're going to practice with alternate picking, which is a down-up stroke. This is a little slow for alternate picking, but I'm showing you because I want you to become familiar with the sound and feel of the alternate picking stroke. Starting on the first fret, first string. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Remember that alternate picking, in this case, should always start with a downstroke of the pick. Do not start with an upstroke because this will put your pattern on a different repeat. Next, let's look at playing on a single string with alternate picking as our last exercise. So using the first string with our first finger on the first fret, let's play first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger with 4 alternate strokes per note. Let's try it without the metronome for practice. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will be our final exercise for today. Until next time, practice hard and have fun.